You and I have been in this business for a very, very long time. This is nothing new to us. This is like suddenly the world is paying attention to what you and I have been screaming from the rooftops for a long time.
So in this episode, we really want to talk about why indoor air quality matters. And I'd like to preface this conversation just a little bit. So just put this in perspective. I don't think the average person understands that, when you quantify it, we breathe about 23,000 breaths a day, which equates to about 3,000 gallons of air. Okay.
Amazing.
Compare that to the 1 gallon of water that we need to drink during the course of a day to stay hydrated. So is one more important than the other? That's,
well, and look at all the attention that's paid to the water. There's 25 different brands on the shelf. We pay a ridiculously amount of money for clean water. We're constantly filtering our water and paying attention to our water. And yet, what were the numbers again, comparatively speaking, Rob?
Yeah, 3,000 gallons versus the 1 gallon of water that we need. So there's been a lot of emphasis in the market about, marketing, the water. We pay a lot of money just to have bottled water.
Right.
So, we need to put this in terms of relationship to our own health. And given the past 5 months of our lives and living through this pandemic, germs come and go, viruses come and go, but one thing is consistent. We all care about our friends and family and staying healthy. And that's what this comes back to. In terms of the HVAC world, we've been providing you as mechanics and contractors comfort, right? Systems installed in your house to be comfortable. A big portion of transmission of germs goes back to HVAC. There's 3 ways for germs to spread. It's direct contact, shaking your hand. There's or coughing and sneezing. That's why we're wearing masks. Indirect contact. So if I'm sick and I touch something, you come behind me and touch it, you have a chance of getting sick. And then thirdly, airborne transmission. So it's the airborne transmission. This is the world we live in as HVAC professionals. So, we've been all taught very extensively over the past 5 or 6 months about washing our hands, hand and surface hygiene. And yet, slowly but surely, the conversation is finally coming around, as we're seeing in our reading, to airborne transmission and what needs to be done with our mechanical systems.
Yeah, all the most recent things that we're all reading the same stuff, but all the most recent ones are I'm not going to say downplaying surface contact, because that's important, of course, and absolutely we need to wash our hands many more times than we ever have in the past. But they are upplaying for sure the aerosolized version of this thing, which directly involves our HVAC systems. And let me say the 2 things that always come to mind in the beginning of these conversations for me is that number one, we've been talking about this for years. You and I have been in this business for a very, very long time. This is nothing new to us. This is like suddenly the world is paying attention to what you and I have been screaming from the rooftops for a long time. But the other thing is how how easy some of these solutions are, and which we're going to get into. But you combine those 2 things. We've been doing this a long time. It's really important. And it just feels like now the world's paying attention to what we've been screaming about forever.
Yeah, I mean, there are strategies, and what have the strategies been over the past few months? It's been washing your hands, wearing a mask, socially distancing, right? Well,
Right.
where is indoor air quality has everything to do with minimizing the risk of getting sick, along with those other strategies. So,
Yes.
Us in the mechanical world, in this HVAC world, we have the solutions there and available to homeowners and business owners. And we'd like to talk a little bit about, again, why this matters. So Ken, as a homeowner, what would, and maybe even outside this pandemic, why would your air quality matter to you in your house?
Yeah, so this gets so easy for us to talk about because we are homeowners. I mean, this doesn't become make-believe. This is personal to me, to you, and to everyone we know. So let's look at it from that point of view. Why is it important to me? Well, a number of things. I have a daughter who has allergies to pets, okay? We have pets. I have other family members, including myself, by the way, who have respiratory compromised conditions, whatever that may or may not be. So already these things were important to us to think about. And that's why we got into business years ago. Add to that an aerosolized virus that is a little out of control. And by the way, nobody fully understands yet. There's young people with no compromised systems that are getting sick and dying. We don't fully understand this thing at all. So as a homeowner, I want to know how to protect my family. I want to know how I can take this group of people who have a compromised respiratory problem. How do I keep them safe? That's coming at it from a homeowner's point of view. And I think every homeowner is asking those same questions right now, don't you think?
And traditionally, yes, I do. And traditionally, I think the average homeowner doesn't think of their heating and air conditioning person or company as a solution provider to the air quality issues that
Well,
might
we know that they
exist, right?
don't because they spend tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on those little room air purifying systems, thinking that that's the answer. So you hit the nail on the head. I don't think homeowners think of their HVAC guy when they first think of indoor air quality. I think they think of buying it online somewhere, and that's so far off base. And that's again why you and I need to talk about these things more.
Yep, is the only place. I always come back to this saying: if you stand back and think about everything in our homes, the only place that you actually can go and take control of the air that you breathe is your house.
Think about
Right?
that for a second.
Yeah.
Of all the places in your life that you have no control over the air that you breathe. There is only one place in your life that you can control the quality of the air that you breathe. It's in your home.
Yeah. So strategy wise, those solutions are out there. Whole home solutions, as you just alluded to, whole home solutions are out there. And think of your heating and air conditioning professional as a resource, a person that in many cases now, the past 4 or 5 months, we've been training a lot of technicians on indoor air quality. And, fortunately, a lot of them are up to speed now and understanding these solutions and bringing these whole home solutions. So you're getting the best bang for your buck.
Do we want to
As a
touch on
homeowner.
any of those now, or is that something we'll incorporate later in the
Yeah,
conversation?
I can't. I'll just do it quickly, simply. I mean, honestly,
Let's talk about it. If we're going to talk about this
yeah,
from the
this
homeowner's point of view, let's continue it that way. We
and
don't
this
have to get into
you
the
know
technical
honestly
stuff.
these solutions can apply to any space, right? But most importantly, the home, right? This is where we spend.
So go ahead.
Yeah,
Let's.
yeah,
What's the
being that
first
we
thing
spend
you would do?
90% of our times indoors, this is really important. So really, first and foremost is fresh air. Obviously, you have heating and cooling systems to make you comfortable for those times that you can't leave the windows and doors open because
So
of what's
why don't
like
I just
outside.
open a window to solve that
Yeah,
problem?
right. So 90 degrees outside and 90% relative humidity, you're not doing that for very long, right? Now,
Bingo.
I have been known, in all honesty, in the dead of winter here in upstate New York, when it's probably below 30 degrees,
Right.
I love airing the house out at least for a few minutes. So I know fresh air is important. I don't have a fresh air exchanger,
My
but
wife's
I
the
like to
same
air
way.
the space out. So fresh air
Yep.
is really, really underrated and
Yep.
understated. And I don't think people understand that, there are fresh air exchangers on the market, heat recovery ventilators and energy recovery ventilators that will constantly bring fresh air into the space. And this is so, so important because you probably paid a really, a pretty penny for the home that you're in that's really nice and tight and energy efficient. But when it comes to fresh air, we just can't get it into the space without those doors and windows open unless you have one of those air exchangers. So
And
fresh
none of these things, by the way, that we're going to talk about are ridiculously expensive. Every one of these solutions has a very reasonable price tag attached to it. We're not going to get into that today necessarily at
Yeah.
all, but
Yeah.
my point is, don't think of any of these solutions that we discussed. They're all quite reasonable in the perspective
Oh,
of
yeah.
your home and
Yeah.
your family.
Chances are, if you have a forced air system in your house too, you're going to have an air filter of some sort. And most,
Okay.
I think half of the market is a 1-inch air filter. So
Okay.
you
So what
probably
now?
have
I got a 1-inch air
indeed.
filter. What do I
Yep.
do with that?
Studies have shown. I just read Ken an article here a few minutes ago. It's an ASHRAE, an industry leading governing body, and stating that basically residential air filters, high efficiency residential air filters, are effective at knocking down viruses. It's a numbers game. There are no silver bullets here, but the more strategies you can employ within the space, the you reduce the risk of getting sick. So air filtration.
Should I just go to Home Depot and buy some kind of expensive filter, or
I would
what's the
talk to
story there?
your heating and cooling contractor, your professional,
Bingo.
because you're going to want a media
Bingo.
air cleaner. And if your system cannot handle the added resistance of this media air cleaner, MERV 13, by the way, or higher, is what's recommended by all our agencies, the EPA included. But some systems can't handle, the fan can't handle that high static. So no fear, there are still HEPA or high efficiency particulate air filters or arresters that actually do knock down viruses and a lot of other things in the home. So HEPA air filtration, again, they get the stigma by contractors a lot too, that they're hard to install. They're not that hard to install.
No,
They are
no.
whole home versions of the ones you buy for room only. So,
And this is hospital grade filtration that's available for the home.
yep. So yeah, filtration needs to be looked at and can help.
And fresh air, what else?
Yep. On top of that, germicidal UV. So ultraviolet lights that are known to kill germs. Studies show that they're available residentially to shine on the evaporator coil, and that's the indoor cold coil, if you will, on the inside of your system. That is, what happens when things get wet and dark? Things like to grow.
Yep.
So
Mold.
by shining this UV light on there constantly, it will ensure that at least your mechanical system won't be the source of any issues. So that will help quite a bit. And then on top of that, taking the extra step and actually purifying the air, I would strongly suggest for people to research air purifiers. And you're going to want to look for one that works proactively, treats the entire space, not just the air, but surfaces. So proactively using the air distribution system to treat the air and surfaces, as we just alluded to before, about surface contamination and everything, all the things that we touch within a space, we are able to, with these air purifying devices, treat those surfaces.
Let's touch on that one for just a second here, because this is the part that just always irritates me. So many people will go out and spend $800 on one of the most expensive high-end air purification products that sit in a room to purify the air. Now think about this for just a second. First of all, you've only treated the one room. You have not treated the whole house. Second of all, you're only treating the air that's going through this little machine. You're not treating any of the surfaces in the house proactively with anything that's going to help. Just the air going through the machine in that room only. And you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get there. For not much more money than that, you can actually treat every room in the house, and not just treat it by virtue of the air that's going through it, but actually sending out proactive ions that are going to literally go after the surfaces in your home as well. Right. I just can't get more excited than that about why the big difference between that whole house solution and that single room solution.
Absolutely. So it's better. You're better. You're wiser to spend your money on a whole home solution when all is said and done with it. Yeah.
Well, imagine trying to buy, even if you wanted to buy a standalone air purifier for every room. First of all, you'd be talking thousands and thousands of dollars, but it still wouldn't be as effective as the products that we're talking about. Right.
And lastly is humidity control. Humidity is a big deal.
Yes.
More studies have been done recently on humidity, especially with this, the COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 virus. So what has been shown from a pathogen standpoint and our own body's ability to fight those pathogens is there's an ideal humidity level. In the northern climates, when you turn on your heating system in the winter months, we naturally, by having the heating systems on, we reduce that humidity level. So we need to have humidifiers to bring it back up. Conversely, in the southern climates, usually in the cooling seasons, we need to keep humidity levels down. And not all heating and air conditioning systems aren't designed to treat humidity to that extent to what's needed. So you need an extra dehumidifier in the space to help you with those days. So point here is the ideal humidity is not just about comfort anymore. It is about your health. When humidity gets outside of that range, and just so everybody knows, it's 40 to 60% relative humidity is ideal. Anytime you get outside of that range, pathogens thrive. They hang around in the air longer when it's drier. They can live longer.
You even had Dr. Ruth on your show, right? Specifically talking about just humidification.
Yeah, it was Dr. Stephanie Taylor.
I'm sorry.
Yep. No, Ruth was another guest. It's okay. Yep, Ruth was another guest. So Dr. Stephanie Taylor, who's one of the leading people in the field, in the field on this issue. So basically the gist of it is, if you're outside of that range, the pathogens can thrive. They last longer in the air. They live longer. And your body's ability to fight those pathogens decreases. So you could dehydrate very easily. So again, humidification is part of that multi-pronged approach or strategy. So whether you're a homeowner, a building owner, a business owner, maybe an office manager, and you're looking to get people back into your spaces. And not only, obviously the first and foremost, the priority would be occupant safety, right? The next phase of this is going to be, okay, the mechanical systems need to be looked at. They need to be ensured, the strategies of fresh air, all the same rules apply in commercial spaces. And again, Ken, if you were an office manager right now, I mean, you're trying to get people back to work, right?
I think this is so easy to talk about because whether you're an office manager, facilities manager, small business owner,
maybe you own a gym.
Maybe you own a gym. So your constituents there's two different constituents. Your employees matter to you, your customers matter to you. It's going to end up coming down to trust. Do they trust that they can come to your business and stay healthy? Are your employees comfortable that you've taken the necessary steps to build a safe environment for them to work in every day? And are your customers happy with the things that you've done to create a safe environment for them to come spend money on whatever it is they're supposed to come spend money on? This is a huge responsibility for these office managers, business owners, to make sure that they do take the appropriate action, and then make sure they make their customers and employees aware of those actions so they can be proud of the things they've done to create a healthy environment, right? I mean, I'm right on here, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's come full circle here, because in the beginning, when I asked you as a homeowner, what is important to you, even despite a pandemic or a bug that's going around, you still want to have the healthiest air possible. And what that means commercially speaking, let's say a commercial space, like you're talking about the improving comfort and productivity of your occupants. So occupant safety and health is first and foremost, but guess what? People are going to come into your building, your space, your office, and actually be more productive.
Yes.
And be more comfortable with those strategies we just talked about. So those same strategies apply whether there's a pandemic going on or not. It is still about healthy people, healthy air for healthy people. I would call it, in the residential terms, I call this healthy home hygiene, right?
Yep.
These strategies, healthy home hygiene. You're going to have a healthy building hygiene too. And it's all
absolutely
geared around
and it's the same set of solutions. Yeah.
Right.
It's all the same set of solutions. It's fresh air, it's filtration, purification, et cetera. It just goes on and on and on. And there's no one size fits all. These solutions depend on the building, depend on the problems, depend on the number of people occupying the facility. I mean, this is why the HVAC contractor is such a key component. Always has been, but now more than ever, the contractor is a key component to this.
I'll tell you what, I just read ASHRAE's statement on recommendations on getting kids back into school and building occupants back into buildings. The one thing I came away with after reading this, Ken, was that, wow, contractors, we went from a maintenance standpoint of what those recommendations look like, things that we used to do quarterly or biannually. During these months where this virus is kicking around and this pandemic continues, those same tasks are going to have to be done monthly. Oh,
wow.
Every month.
Oh, wow.
So that means, like changing do we have filters, the people cleaning
coils?
I mean, maybe it's a university or a college, or a hospital that might already have staff on board. I'll tell you what, the staff as it is probably doesn't have enough time to actually do monthly inspections. So now what we have is if you're a commercial contractor, you're probably going to be asked to come in and help and assist. Residential contractors, same thing. You have light commercial customers or commercial customers where these things need to be looked at frequently. And by the way, if you're an installing contractor or you're your guy doing maintenance and changing out filters, guess what? You better look out for your own health too. I mean, you got to use your own personal protective equipment. The recommendation I saw for air filters, when you go to touch one of those air filters, you should already have your masks on, right? I would have an N95 mask on now, right? And gloves for sure when I'm handling these air filters during these, next few months. In fact, I saw one recommendation to spray a 10% solution of bleach on the filter before you handle it.
Wow.
Think about that. So when you're handling this stuff, and if you're somebody that changes your own air filters and you might not be an HVAC contractor, protect yourself, please. Protect
Wow.
yourself when
Didn't
you're
even
handling
think
these
of
air
that
filters.
one. Didn't
I
even
think
think
about
of
all the
that
years
one.
that I spent in the field, Ken, and I changed out all those air filters without
Right.
anything on.
Wow. I did not even
I
think
don't
of that
understand why I was
one.
getting headaches all those times.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I didn't even think of that. You know, it's funny. Part of what you just said was, because of this pandemic, so many people have lost their jobs. Isn't it funny sometimes how problems become the solution? Now we're talking about all the jobs that might be created
Yeah.
because there's going to be this shift. If indoor air quality becomes a conversation that everyone is having every day, then it's going to create all kinds of new jobs in the world of indoor air quality, even if it's just from a monthly maintenance point of view. So isn't that fascinating
Yep,
too?
I think it's going to be a big part of this economic recovery that I hope we all can look forward to. And I think that there's a demand in the field, as it were, even before the pandemic. There's a huge demand for tradesmen, especially HVAC trade. But now, even after this pandemic comes and goes away, fortunately, hopefully soon, this conversation probably is not going to change. I highly
No,
doubt
it'll
it.
never get back to the way it was. There's
Highly
always
doubt it.
going to be the next virus now. There's always going to be this elevated conversation about the quality of the air that we breathe. I don't think is ever going to go back to anywhere near where it was before. This is going to be on
Right.
all our minds for forever now, I think. Um, are we getting ready to shift gears again? We've talked about from a homeowner's point of view. We've talked about a business owner's point of view. We want to go ahead and move to the contractor's point of view and do it one more
Yeah, that's what I
time?
mean. I was just starting that by saying, for your own personal protection, first and foremost, if you're a contractor, you
That's
should be thinking in
amazing. I
terms of
never thought of
hiring.
that.
If you're actually own an HVAC company, I think you're always looking to hire people, but now is even more than ever. If you're not in the indoor air quality game, we can help you there by training. Get you up to speed. There's some resources we can help you with. But yeah, I mean, you're never late to the game. I don't think because of what we just said, the conversation is not going to change. If you're not offering solutions, you're missing the boat. I mean, your business. Talk about the business model of a contractor, Ken, and what we've
Well,
talked about before.
it's funny. And you and I, again, we've been talking about this for so long. If you're an HVAC contractor, you're very fortunate that we're more or less considered an essential business. And most of the folks I've talked to are hanging in there. At least we're not in the restaurant business where so many people have lost their jobs and businesses closed forever. Well, we're very fortunate there. But what an opportunity to shift I call it the company's personality.
Mhm.
Every company has kind of a personality. And if you're HVAC contracting business personality has always been energy savings and comfort. That's terrific. But now is the time to shift that personality. Shift the personality of your company to being a little bit more focused, if not entirely focused in some cases, on indoor air quality because it's so relevant and it's so noble in a way. It's helpful. It's not just comfort and energy. Now you're talking about your customers' health and your ability to offer them real, genuine solutions that are going to help them with their health. What an opportunity as a
Yeah.
contractor.
Talk about a
With all
sense of
the support, by
gratification.
the way, from
Yeah.
people like us, we're ready to support every contractor in the country to make that shift. That's what we're here for.
Right. Right. So there's a lot here to consider. If you would like some resources going forward, I would suggest to go to, in your web browser, type in IAQ.works, WORKS. So IAQ.works. Don't type in .com, just literally type IAQ.works. There's more information there. Some of the things I mentioned or referred to were through the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, which is ASHRAE. So ASHRAE.org, ASHRAE.org. They have their own special COVID-19 page where all these
Yep.
resources are. They're downloadable.
Yep.
So if you're looking for recommendations to get people back into your building, what your contractor should be looking at, the questions you should be asking. So whether you're a school, university, or a business, or even residentially speaking, you can go to EPA.gov. So our Environmental Protection Agency here in the US, EPA.gov, will have its own IAQ webpage with some resources on there and the recommendations. So, we're not making this stuff up. It's out there. It's backed up. The studies and newer studies have, are backing everything we're saying up. So we're here to help. We're here to assist. No matter what you are, what walk of life you are, please utilize us here at KGG Consulting. We can get you headed down the right path.
And go to our website. Take a look at our website, kggconsulting.com. All the links are there as well.
In addition to some training.
A lot of training. That's what we do.
Thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Talk to you soon. Bye now.